hard to breathe. And this is all in a matter of 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes maybe. Maybe 2 minutes. But it became really, 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 really hard to breathe.
Were you swallowing stuff?
I was swallowing, and there were people barfing, and I can't even explain it to the degree of how horrible it was. People were banging on the door, let us in, help, help, help. There's no answer. Couldn't breathe. There's somebody looking from the building here, so I'm going to be quiet for a second and make noises in the window. And I couldn't breathe, and basically I thought it was the end. And then it stopped. The noise stopped, the debris stopped rumbling, everything stopped. And I looked up and I could see darkness and a little glimmer of light, which was the sunshine. And it was like a dark moonscape, black moonscape. And people were barfing, people were crying out, people were just noises of pain for those that had pain. Somebody said, "Here, over here." So there was all of it. So I walked over to the noise and bumped into a food vendor's cart. And the guy said, "There's water in here. There's water in here. Get water." And I put my hand in a bucket or a thing that he was slushing around in, and I found a container. I opened it and it was apple juice. I poured it over my head. You know, because I can't explain it. But the soot, the dust, the debris was, every molecule was in every space that you had, to the point where 3 months later I was still finding debris in my Walkman. The debris had got in the battery casing, had gotten into the space in the battery casing. It was just smotherment, that's a word. So it was still coming down. It was snowing ash at that point, and I guess the darkness became a little bit lighter. It was more dark grey at that point, but still very not difficult to breathe, but I had difficulty breathing. And to the point where we went up to the back of I think it was the Chase Plaza, and a few of us were trying to get into a building, and because the doors were buckled from the movement or the debris.
Did you barf or anything?
Yeah, I was barfing. And so we were like trying to knock on the window, and then all of a sudden, psh, somebody took one of those crowd control bollards and smashed it through the window, just by me. So the window's kind of gaping open. I run into what do? I run into the building. There's even more smoke in there than there is outside. People trying to get out. So then, just like the walking wounded, I wasn't wounded, but like the walking wounded, I am walking around aimlessly. And you know, looking back, I guess I had thoughts of a movie called The Day After, about a nuclear holocaust, and that's what it felt like that day, in that place, at that time. People walking around, are you okay? People beginning to help each other after the shock of what had happened. And it was still very hazy, and it was still snowing very heavily. And walking around aimlessly as I was, I guess the idea of going to the office kind of cleared out of my mind. Even though it still was there, but I forget that. I saw a neon light in the distance, and I figured I recognized the place. It was called the Killarney Rose, and this is all in the space of a very short 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Walked into the Killarney Rose, which was an Irish pub downtown, which was open, and along the saloon bar were a whole rake of people. And as I walked in, I must have been one of the first people that walked in, and it was like the TV came into the building, because they were watching it on their TV, what was happening outside, and hearing the noise. But then when you walk in, they were like, it was like in the Wild West, when everybody goes, all the heads go, and people were coming up and trying to give me bar towels that wet my face, because it was crusted in my eyes. My hair was cemented, literally cemented with the ash and dust. I was covered in black, and in shock. I ordered a Guinness. I was given a Guinness, I think is better said. And I called my father-in-law. This was maybe at, I don't know, it was the time the first building fell, I don't know what time. And I called my father-in-law and I said, "Hello, Fred, this is Stephen here, I'm okay." And impervious to what had happened in New York at that time, he goes, "Hey, good to hear from you. Keep in touch now, and you know, we'll see you on Thursday. No, we'll see you tonight." It was my brother-in-law's 30th birthday that day. It's his birthday on 9/11. No, his 29th birthday. "See you tonight. Take care now, Stephen. Bye-bye." He was totally clueless of what had befell us.
Oh my God.
And so then, you know, people still in the bar. I said, "Fuck it, I gotta get out of here." So I'm walking towards the water, towards Water Street from that point. I meet an Orthodox guy and he says to me, "Our time has come," or something creepy. "Our time has come. Welcome to what we have to experience." Something to that effect, which I thought was a bit ominous. Or that guy didn't walk with him long. And then I joined the walking. The noise of planes above doesn't scare me, but in Manhattan, it still makes me think every time. Because I don't physically or consciously remember the second blast, but the noise from the first fall I will never forget. Anyway, so walked up with the walking wounded, as they call us, and was trying to stay close to the river. Because there were people were saying there's another plane in the air, there's another one coming to New York. The fighter jets were flying by at this point, up and around the river. People in a panic mode, but people moving en masse, big people moving en masse, and made it home safe. I was lucky that day. My thoughts went out for you, Sheila at Lehman, and for Shobha Kalyanaswamy, and she just was a lady that I'd befriended at Morgan Stanley, and I placed her in Morgan Stanley in January of 2001. There was another guy, but he was let go from cost cutting, so he was lucky. But just there was her and a few other people. Crazy story, and it's another story. She worked for Lehman on the 43rd floor, and her brother worked for. No, she worked for Morgan. I'm sorry.
In Tower 2,
in Tower 2, and her brother worked for Lehman in Tower 1, and they both made it.